All right, everybody, welcome back to Winnipeg 420 live stream. This is such an awesome interview. I love having him on. He's one of my best friends in the industry. He's also a great place of knowledge and experience regarding everything from regulatory framework to dealing pre and post legalization with governments here in Manitoba and abroad. My buddy Ariel from the Joint. How's it going, buddy?
Going good, Steven. It's great to be here again for the second year in a row. How are you doing?
Good, man. I love having you and, a few people on from this community who really can do a lot to educate the public and educate our cannabis community. And, having you from your specific point of expertise is always my favorite conversation, man. I love having you on. So appreciate what we're going to talk about now. But first, for everybody watching, I know we're going to get into some legalese and a little bit of backstory here. Probably want to get medicated. That's fine. Going to do the same. Bong rips. It's 420. Let's get high, everybody, a little bit here, all right?
Cheers.
Tasty. Prime for a conversation. All right, man. I know that, I know, but maybe not everybody out there knows why I love having you on so much. And it's not just because, I shop at the Joint, even though I do. It's because of the story, of the I just referenced it. I mean, the fairy tale Disney-esque quality. I can say that now because Disney Plus has like Die Hard and stuff, so it's way cooler than it used to be. But that Disney-esque, almost fairy tale, utopian, fantasy-like story that the Joint has had from small time, a little head shop to now being a province, multi-province industry leader. So that's why I have you guys on, because it's so nice to hear the story, and because I know you guys personally. I believe in what the Joint does as a company, and I think the community knows that as well, and that's why they support you so much. So, bro, let me stop rambling, and let's hear a little bit about you and where you're at in the Joint, and a little bit of the story as to why the Joint story is so powerful.
Well, I think you definitely provide a very good introductory summary there, Stephen. As you said, it's a very interesting time in the cannabis industry, and it really, honestly, it has been for the last 5 years at least. And it's been a pleasure and a privilege to have the opportunity to experience what is only a once in a lifetime experience of cannabis becoming legal on a federal level in Canada, and having that experience of, as you said, starting really small, starting as a small head shop in a Stephen Harper world where it was very anti-cannabis, and seeing 7 years later, we're suddenly declared an essential service, during the COVID lockdowns, and just the breadth of experience in such a short amount of time has been nothing short of exhilarating and very exciting. And as you touched on, like, we've been in Winnipeg, we established in Winnipeg in 2007, a small independent local company, still local independent company that has not changed, and we managed to grow and cross that big hurdle of legalization, and all the unknowns, all the gray areas that came with it, all the changes, and the multiple changes in different provinces, bringing in different rules and then changing them again. And it's been just a whirlwind of fun, honestly, in the last couple of years, getting to finally do what we do best, which is, help consumers make informed decisions about purchasing cannabis itself and not just cannabis accessories, which is something we look forward to doing for a very, very long time. And we're very, very excited and grateful to now have that opportunity. We had our first cannabis store open in Saskatchewan back in 2018, and then we opened a store in Alberta in 2019. So it's started where we could, where the markets were open for licensing, and then Manitoba finally in June said, okay, we're going to open up licensing, and since then we've managed to open 6 stores since June in Winnipeg. Most of them transitioned from our head shops, but including a number of new stores, including the one on Leela, which is brand new. And we also moved down the street on Regent to a much bigger location to now sell cannabis as well. So that's all really exciting things that have happened in our world.
It's amazing. I mean, you touch on just in your initial statement, it is a Stephen Harper world. It is almost hard. I think a lot of cannabis users out there don't even realize, that that's where a lot of these businesses started. Is that this was a just after the dawn of the millennium, 2003, 4, 5, 6-ish, after the Liberals left, all of a sudden, boom, we're in Harper era town, and it was a lot of a different era, a different world where cannabis was persecuted and demonized. And I know you guys can touch on this a little bit, is that it's amazing to think that, now we've gotten so used to this liberal Trudeau government with legalization that it's almost, a distant memory with the Harper era regime, but it really wasn't that long ago.
It really wasn't. And I think, honestly, it really depends who you talk to in terms of how distant it feels, because like a lot of people were definitely impacted very seriously by the conservative policies that were in place during the Harper government. And so for a lot of people, they still do remember that quite vividly, because as we're saying, like we're talking, I guess, 6 years now. 6 years ago, he was still a prime minister. It wasn't until November of 2015
that's true.
He was elected. So, just a bit over 5 years ago, it was a different world. As you said, they were very concerned about people selling cannabis accessories, let alone cannabis itself. And there was a full medical regime in place, and yet it was very, very difficult to do any sort of business, even legally, in the cannabis accessory industry, in the medical cannabis industry. And the way things have changed have been a full night and day in a lot of respects. But it's, as you said, it's not that distant in the past where things were very, very different.
No, I mean, you talk about even accessories. I mean, the idea that at some point there was, blanket persecution, specifically here in Winnipeg, regarding things like, trademark infringement on comic hero bongs, or like Looney Tunes-esque paraphernalia, like, oh, that's why we're going to come raid your establishment that pays taxes and, employs people in the local economy. Like, that's a weird dynamic to think of, the dichotomy from one to now. I mean, and people complain about legalization right now. I mean, don't forget about that.
It's true. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with where in the country you are. Clearly, legalization had different effects in different parts of the country. And so in Manitoba, for a lot of people don't know this or weren't aware of it, but like Manitoba it's had a vibrant black market cannabis community for a long time. There's plenty of people in Manitoba that smoke cannabis, but publicly, like on a mainstream basis, it was very, very underground. It was not like Vancouver or even Toronto, where there was a lot more above board, and like dispensary style operations going, and people that were really like
in the public eye.
Yeah, in the public eye, engaging in acts of actual civil disobedience, saying, it shouldn't be this way. Maybe we should change some things. Or in Winnipeg, if you tried that, you'd have cops at your door the next day. It just wasn't. It just was not the place where you could do those kinds of things. And further to that, it's also a community here that, compared to other jurisdictions, doesn't know as much about cannabis. So, the average person, I was talking to people in BC I was telling them how I, was trying to educate a lot of people about all the different cannabis products because they didn't know much about it. And they couldn't they just said, just tell them it's hash. And it's like hash. I'm like, they don't know what hash is. People in BC were taking for granted that everybody knew what this stuff was, where in places like Manitoba and Saskatchewan, that really wasn't the case. And so it's really only been since legalization that we've been able to start having those conversations, having more people come into the stores who might not have wanted to enter before for various reasons, who are, starting to realize what this product is. And again, it's just so night and day to be able to do that legally now.
It really is. I think, I can't remember who I was talking to the other day. I think it was Candace from Cottage Country Cannabis, and she had mentioned, it's a weird thing to complain about your life when, you own a cannabis store. And I'm like, yeah, that's gotta be like the coolest thing to brag about, though. Like, oh yeah, I just gotta go open my cannabis store for the day.
what I've noticed is that's definitely, I mean, that's true, 100%. But like I've even seen, even in the last 2 years, like when legalization started, having a cannabis store was one of the biggest deals in the world, as it should have been. These were the first federally legal cannabis retail licenses to be issued anywhere in the world. It's a big deal.
And any
like anywhere in the world, even though, you know, in the States, those are state licenses which aren't federally legal. These are legal all the way through, top to bottom. And first country in the
you
world
go to like Uruguay or Portugal or even the Netherlands, they don't have a structure like we do.
Yeah, they don't. Canada really did widen the type of regulatory system that was possible for cannabis.
Oh, 100%.
Of course, there's issues with that, and nothing, and it's not perfect, and there's many changes that I think should be made and hopefully will be made. But as a starting point, it's much better than we had 5 years ago. That I can tell you for sure. And now we have something that we can actually work on and make better, as opposed to, you know, getting over that hurdle of not wanting to go to jail for this, which is
well. And you know, I mean, to touch on that is that even you know, in my interview with John Conroy, they mentioned you know, the persecution level of people with possession and growing like that, and even that's down. So I mean, even if the way the law is being applied towards cannabis is at a lower rate, then that's even better, you know. So even if there are still arbitrary or persecutorial, you know, kind of penalties associated with simple possession, at least we know that the application of those laws is at least a little lower than it could be, which is great.
Yeah, I think we've seen positive signs in respect of the drop off and people becoming involved with the legal justice system in any way related to cannabis since legalization. It does seem like the authorities are generally not wanting to spend a lot of time and money on very small, on like things like possession of a legal substance just isn't really where they're going with it. What I've seen more of is that they've been going after very large scale international operations that are set up in Canada, under medical licenses. And so they've been, you know, using their resources more in that direction, which I think is a positive thing overall.
No,
especially in the sense that they're not bugging the little guys that they're not bugging the people that are, you know, smoking a joint on the street anymore, and I think that's very positive.
No, and again, it goes to hand in hand with the legalization, because not only are there, you know, these regulatory hurdles that you folks have to deal with, but you're also, you know, creating another dynamic for the police not to have to worry about, right? So we don't really need them to be focusing their time on you guys, because you're, as the industry, are now taking responsibility for the sales and production and all this other stuff that they had to worry about all the time now.
Yeah.
Now hopefully their resources and budget people are like, yeah, okay, let's go after the meth heads.
Well,
even though they shouldn't be going after them either.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't, you know, we could talk about possession charges and all that stuff, you know, we could go forever about that. But I think that you're right. Like the fact that there's now a legal framework, which means that like stores and producers are now regulated by Health Canada and by regulatory authorities like the Liquor Gaming Cannabis Authority, Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries, they all have, you know, a watch on this industry, and that I think leaves the police, you know, their resources can be better focused on the things that only they can do, which is take down like very large international organized crime, or
fighting like violent offenders,
or other crimes, right? It's more, it makes more sense for the regulators to deal with a lot of the cannabis issues that the police were dealing with before and should never have been dealing with.
Well, and I think that with the Cannabis Act approach of more of a, you know, diminishing organized crime, taking the money out of the profits, et cetera, keeping it safe out of children, there is that semi health approach to it where, yeah, we should not be treating it as a criminal issue. We should be treating it as a health issue, and we should be going from there with all drugs. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, it should be. I mean, if you have a problem with alcohol, you see your doctor, right? You don't see the police. And
I know, right? Unless you, like, you know, kill somebody or something, right?
Right. Yeah, sure. There are, if the police need to be involved, they need to be involved. But if they don't need to be involved, they should not.
Let's not involve them.
And so I think there's plenty of room for that. I think we are seeing that across the board. I don't know if you saw BC yesterday. I
was going to just mention that. Yeah.
A Section 56 really exemption, cool. Which is, I mean, who knows what will come out of it, but just the fact that they did that is huge. It really pushes the boundaries.
you know, I'm 100%. I feel like the Pacific coast of North America has got to be the most progressive, like condensed, like regional geographical, population base anywhere in the world. Like the whole strip from BC. I mean, even Alaska is pretty progressive for some stuff, and you go right down, and it's just, you know, full legalization in California, drug legalization or decriminalization of possession in Oregon. Washington is like right in the middle somewhere, and BC smacking this one out. I mean, that's a great coast to live on, man. West Side.
It's great weather too, man. It's beautiful. It's they really do have it all.
I gotta say, that's I mean, I think that conversation needs to be had. But there needs to be so many ancillary conversations that go along with it. So not only are we taking drug addiction and we're removing it from the idea of criminal elements and things like that, but we need to do things that go hand in hand with that. So, insurance coverage for medical cannabis, like drug identification numbers for cannabis, and maybe, going into the psilocybin thing. Let's progress this with a pharmacare coverage thing. I don't care where we lie in the end. It's important thing is the journey we get there, right? And if it's good and great, awesome. But if it's a ridiculously arduous journey full of arbitrary nonsense that we have to constantly take into Supreme Court challenges or constitutional challenges, I feel like we're losing as a society. So let's just hope we do better.
And yeah, I agree 100% with it. I think one of the biggest problems with medical cannabis in Canada was that for the first 15 years of the program, ever since R.V. Parker in 2000 at the Ontario Court of Appeal, government was obliged to provide a system that would give reasonable access to patients. And as of 2015, the Supreme Court and the British Columbia Federal Court both said that hasn't been accomplished. It's been 15 years, and the government's had 15 years to put in place. And so what that says is that the government never had any intention or interest in putting in place a constitutionally valid program. Hopefully we're past that point. Again, a lot's changed. I think Justin Trudeau understood these issues, and which is why he decided to one reason anyways why he decided to go for full legalization. He saw that it was
right. Decriminalization wasn't the answer,
and that the medical system had just been left behind for so long that without something major, it was hard to piecemeal try to fix it. You needed to actually change things, and for him it was legalization, and we'll see which is great, but again, we'll see how that actually works out for medical people, because I can tell you, I've seen a lot of cannabis producers that have stopped selling medical cannabis now that recreational is around, because it's very hard to run two systems and they don't make as much money. And
I know. It's all about the necessity for the patients, though. And that's the thing, that the companies who want to make sure sick Canadians have access to cannabis because of the moral or cultural community fabric of cannabis, because of those reasons, they will do it. And those are the people we need to support. The people who don't want to have anything to do with medical cannabis, frankly, as a personal medical cannabis user, I'm a little choked at, but whatever. As long as you're doing ethical stuff on the other side for recreational, we're good. But if you're not, then we have to stop.
Right. And something that also, I've spent some time thinking about this, and honestly, I can't think of a good solution.
Really? As a stoner, you've spent time thinking about something. Sorry.
Yeah, I did. And I couldn't come up with something like an obvious answer that would work as a compromise and yet be also acceptable to all parties. But one gap in the market, which we've known about for years with all these court decisions in BC, et cetera, is that we have people in other stores too that we've heard about, that there are customers that come in and say, hey, here's my medical card, so I want to purchase my full month supply, which is 150 grams. Right. Of course, we aren't allowed to do that. Not only that, we can only sell 30 grams at a time, regardless of whether you have that medical card.
Right, I know.
And we can't give discounts to medical patients specifically. We also can't provide any sort of medical advice at all in any way, shape, or form.
Wait, hang on a second. Just back you up on 1 second there. So is that something that changed? Because you guys used to give discounts to medical patients to buy accessories and stuff. you can no longer do that based on regulations.
We are not it's very difficult to give discounts to specific classes of people.
I 100% agree. I do.
Well, I just mean under the regulations, they make it very, very difficult to do that. And it's and we would love to continue doing that. We did that for years. It was
that's why I shopped there.
It was a standing policy, and I think it still should be a standing policy at pretty much every store. I mean, if you show a medical card, you know, this should be something to bring you in. I mean, it makes sense.
I agree. Compassionate pricing has been a thing. It still is.
Yeah, and there's lots of and we have to admit that like a lot of medical patients are using the recreational system. That's the point.
Of course, because it's access.
Because access, not only that, but they have access to all sorts of different kinds. They can try a bunch of different stuff. Where instead of signing up with a single LP,
to make shatter at home.
and signing up with one LP really limits what products are available for you. So I think that there's definitely room for some sort of compromise that would allow recreational retail stores to work better with medical patients. I'm not exactly sure what that is, though.
Right. No, I 100%. I get it, man. I really do. And I know me and you could talk about this for hours. I do have a question, though, man, just because I know we don't want to kind of get super off topic here. What's going on with the joint right now? I mean, I know you guys have just opened Leela. You just opened a store in, what was it, Brandon, right?
No, Regina.
Regina, right? Sorry, I don't know why I was
just opened Regina.
No, that's cool. See, this is my point. This is why you're on, right? That interprovincial joint relationship. Yeah, no, like, so what's next for the joint? Do you guys have a new store popping up? You know, is anything happening? Are you guys dipping into cultivation yet, Bart?
On the cultivation. That's a little bit out of my bailiwick. I generally concentrate on the retail side.
Oh, it's all good, Bart.
But we're just expanding as fast as we can while still trying to maintain all the things that made us what we are. Clearly, you know, like it's very difficult in some ways to maintain the kind of culture, the kind of company culture you have with so many changes from pre-legalization to post-legalization, and you know, and all the new rules that have to come in, and all the new and just the change in the industry in general. So we're working very hard to maintain that, and at the same time, as I said, we're opening new stores as fast as we can. We've launched full e-commerce platforms in Manitoba and Saskatchewan with same-day delivery in Winnipeg and Regina, and soon to be Saskatoon, as well as in Assiniboia, Saskatchewan, where we have a store. And we're, you know, making the website better and better every day, and doing what we can to provide like the largest selection at the lowest price, like we always have, for both cannabis and cannabis accessories.
Oh, I love it, man. You know, it's so nice to know that, you know, again, for people who don't know necessarily the joint and the guys behind it, you know, these guys care about cannabis. They're enthusiasts. They're not just out to make a buck. They're not out to, you know, make some big name of themselves. They're doing what they can to survive. They're kicking ass doing it. And it's important for people in the community here to support guys like this and the joint and everybody involved. So, I mean, okay, so how do people reach you guys? How do people buy from the joint? Is there an online thing? Are you doing curbside pickup because of pandemic? What's going on right now? How do we get a hold of you?
So the pandemic has resulted in us being able to offer those services. So the way you can either go to any store. We're open generally 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. and also 11 on weekends. And then our website is www.thejointcannabis.ca. And from there, you can shop at any individual retail location for this and see the specific inventory at that location. You can order. Yeah, you can then order for either to pick up in store, curbside pickup, or for delivery, including same-day delivery within Winnipeg through Pineapple Express. And we also send it through the mail if that's what you prefer. And we also have somebody manning the website at all times. If you have any questions, you'll see the little pop-up like on every other website. I can tell you at least there's somebody real there, and so any question, can be answered very quickly.
What about social media? You guys got any giveaways or anything going on for 420?
We do. Well, yeah, we have specials on for 420 right now, including including discounts off cannabis and accessories and a bunch of new bundles.
Excellent. Oh, I saw the Deep Space bundle. I saw that. Check that out on Instagram, everybody.
Most of those are in store only, just so you're aware. But Instagram and Facebook, we have accounts, the Joint Cannabis, and everything to do with the joint is updated there on a regular basis, including lots of giveaways, including a 420 giveaway.
Amazing. Actually, and speaking of a 420 giveaway, it's time for our 420 giveaway. So earlier in this conversation, I casually mentioned, I got it wrong, by the way, hint, where they just opened the store. If you're watching, you know where I was corrected as to where that store opened up. So if you can email Winnipeg 420 OC, the OC stands for Organizing Committee, just in case you're wondering why I say OC. But yeah, Winnipeg 420 OC at gmail.com. First person to email me with that city where this actual store opened up, you guys will win one of the awesome joint prize packs that they've given us, whether or not it's the bong, the dab rig. We've got a nice little mug and pipe thing set up. It's amazing. Check it out on our Instagram or whatever page right now, and you'll see what you're actually bidding for. But first person, get that in right now. You're going to win a prize pack from the joint. It's awesome. So, Ariel, what else, buddy? I love having you on, but you know what? 420 is kicking ass, and we got a segue into another. Actually, what's coming up? Another DJ. Boom.
Boom. Well, thank you very much, Stephen, for having me on. I appreciate it, and it's always great to talk to you, especially, and it's nice to be on for a second time. Hopefully next year we can do something in person finally, but regardless, this has been a great experience. So thank you very much for organizing this. The community appreciates it. We all appreciate it. It's great to have this kind of thing available.
Thank you very much for that, brother. I really appreciate it. And yes, next year we will have Winnipeg's, maybe the country's first fully legitimate legalized cannabis festival with cannabis gardens, consumption, sales, music, vendors. Oh, it's just going to be a great time. And it wouldn't be that event without you guys and the joint.
Well, we'll be looking forward to it, and I can guarantee you we'll be there.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much. That's Ariel Glinter from the joint, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, buddy. I really appreciate it. Always informative.
Thank you, Stephen.
No problem. Happy 420, brother.